Hi everyone. So, continuation with the module 5. So, in this video lecture I am going to cover density based clustering. So, what are the different types of density based clustering? You know, density based clustering is density based means. So, here clustering will be based on density of the number of points available or number of the data available or number of the data points available. So, different types of density based clustering are grid based clustering, subspace clustering, clique, then Denclev, a kernel based scheme for density based clustering. Okay, so, now let us see one by one of these density based clustering. We have different types of clustering, there is grid based clustering, subspace clustering, clique and Denclev. So, we will see one by one. So, the first one is grid based clustering. So, in grid based clustering, so here the idea is to split the possible value of each attribute into a number of contiguous interval, creating a set of grid cells. So, here what we do, so here we will take each attribute and we will divide or we will split these attributes into a number of, we will be able to, we will be splitting the different values or possible values of each attribute into a number of contiguous intervals, creating a set of grid cells. So, here each object can be assigned to a grid cell in one pass through the data. So, now here what we are doing, so instead of forming the clusters, so in this approach we are forming the grid cells. So, here different objects after splitting based on their attribute values, so they will be assigned to one of the grid cell in one pass. So, objects can be assigned to grid cell in one pass through the data and information about each cell. So, such as the number of points in the cell can also be gathered at the same time. So, once you formed a grid and once the grid cell is formed, then we will be assigning the objects to that particular grid cells. So, now when and the information about each cell is also stored, such as the number of points in the cell and also this is performed at the same time. So, when we are forming the grid cells and assigning the objects to each of the grid cell, at the same time we are also storing how many number of points are present in the each cell. So, how this basic grid based clustering algorithm works. So, here what we do is we will define a set of grid cells first. So, based on the each attribute value, we will define a set of grid cells. So, then once we assign once we define a set of grid cells, what we do, we will assign objects to the appropriate cells. So, now based on the attribute values, we will assign the objects to each of the grid or each of the cells, and then we will compute the density of the each cell. So, now what we do initially, we will make the grid cells based on the attribute values. Once we define a set of the grid cells, then what we are going to do is we are going to assign objects to the appropriate cells based on the attribute values, and then we will calculate the density of the each cell. Now, what we will do, so if a particular cell does not have a density defined by the threshold. Okay, so, for every cell we are going to define a threshold value, that every grid cell should have this much amount of threshold value. So, third step is to eliminate the cells having density below the specified threshold. So, if any cell is found to have a density less than the threshold value tau, that will be eliminated from the grid. So, and form the cluster from the adjacent group of the dense cells. So, then take these dense cells, then based on the applying any one of the clustering algorithm, we will form the clusters. So, we will just see how to define a grid cell. So, this is how to define a grid cell. So, this is a very key step in the process. So, but the least well defined. So, there are many ways to define or split the possible values of each attribute into a number of contiguous intervals. So, now how to define? We said that we have to divide the cells based on the attribute values, but how the process will continue. Okay, so, that is the key step in the process, but this process is least well defined. There are many possible ways to split the value of each attribute into a number of contiguous intervals. Okay, so, now for continuous attributes, one common approach is to split the values into equal width intervals. So, how we are going to define the grid cell? So, one of the common approach is to split the values into equal width intervals. If this approach is applied to each attribute, then the resulting grid cells all have the same volume. So, now what we are doing? We are splitting the values into equal width. So, if each cell is splitted in equal width, then according to each attribute, then the resulting grid cell will have the same value, and the density of the cell is also will be conveniently defined as the number of the points in the cell. So, now if every grid is having equal width and the density of the cell, now how we can define the density of the cell is conveniently defined as how many number of points are present in the cell. So, what is the density of the grid cell? Okay, a natural way to define the density of the grid cell or more generally shaped region is the number of points divided by the volume of the region. How you define the density of the grid cell? Density of the grid cell is nothing but, okay, so number of points present in that cell divided by the volume of that particular area or particular region. In other words, density is the number of points per amount of space. What is the density? Density of a cluster or density of the grid cell? It is nothing but it is the number of points per amount of the space regardless of the dimensionality of the space. Here we are not considering, we are not going to consider what is the dimension of the space. Here just we are interested in how many number of points are present per amount of space. So, here we will take an example. So, grid based density an example. So, below figure shows you two sets of the dimensional points divided into 49 cells. So, here in the figure 9.10 you have a 7 cross 7 grid cell. Okay, so, we have total 49 cells. Okay, so, there are 49 cells. By here we have formed 49 cells by using a grid of size 7 by 7. So, the first set contains the first set which is in between 4 and 6 or 4 and 5, it contains approximately around 200 points generated from a uniform distribution over a circle centered at 2, 3 of radius 2. So, here we have taken a circle of 2, 3. So, this is the center point. So, 2 and this is 3, 2, 3 this is the center point. From this point we are taking a radius of 2 and then all the 200 points are defined in this region, while the second one. So, the second set has 100 points generated from the uniform distribution. So, now here you can see what is the center of this grid cell, this is 6 and this is 3. So, this is 100 points generated from uniform distribution over a circle of 6, 3, but here the radius is reduced to 1. So, in the previous example the radius was 2 and the points were 2, 3 and the second grid is having the point 6, 3 with a radius of 1. Okay, and it is having 100 points, whereas the first cluster, the first grid is having 200 points. So, the count for the grid cell is shown in the figure. So, how many points you can find it out here? 4, 17, 18 and 16, 14, 14, 13 and 13, 11, 18, 10 and 21, 3, 20, 14 and if you add up all these things it will give you a count of 200 and this will give you a count of 100. So, this is all regarding the density based coming. Next coming to the clique. Clique is a density based clustering algorithm. What is this clique? Clustering in quest. The long form of this clique is clustering based quest. It is again a grid based clustering algorithm that methodically defines subspace clusters. What is methodically? It finds subspace clusters. Okay, it is impractical to check each subspace for the cluster since the number of such subspaces exponentially in the number of dimensions. So, instead a clique relies on the following property. So, a clique algorithm is having a one property called as monotonicity property. So, what is this monotonicity property of a grid cell? So, monotonicity property of a grid based cluster, what it is? If a set of points form a density based cluster in k dimensions, means different attributes we take. So, different attributes of a particular object. So, if a set of points form a density based cluster in k dimension attributes, then the same set of points is also a part of density based cluster in all possible subsets of those dimensions. Okay. So, that is nothing but the monotonicity property of the density based cluster. So, what is this algorithm says? So, according to this click algorithm, so first step, what is the first step? Find all the dense areas in one dimensional space. So, now here, so first step is when you are given with the data type, when you are given with the data. So, when you are dealing with the density based clustering, the first step is I need to find out all the dense region in one dimensional space corresponding to each attribute. Okay, this is the set of dense one dimensional cells. Let us take k equal to 2, I want to form 2 clusters. So, this will repeating, this will go on repeating until I form some k number of clusters. Then generate all candidate dense k dimensional cells from k minus 1 dimensional cells. Okay. So, now you are going to form k dimensional cells from k minus 1 dense dimensional cells. So, now for a density based clustering, for every cell we should have some minimum threshold of the density. So, if the cell does not have a points, some sigma number of points, then those cells will be eliminated from the grids. Okay. So, eliminate the cells that have fewer than eta number of points, then increase k is equal to k plus 1. So, go to the next iteration to find out again the dense region, again form the one dimensional space, and again form k dimensions to form k minus 1 number of cells until. So, this we are going to repeat until there are no candidate dense k dimensional cells. So, this step we are going to repeat until we have formed with all the cells. We have considered all the dense areas, dense regions. Then next step is find clusters by taking the union of all adjacent high density cell. So, now you form the cells, high density cells, then I need to next step is to find the clusters. So, how to form the clusters? To find the clusters. So, you take the union of the adjacent high density cells, then add them to form a less number of density cells. So, summarize then each cluster using a small set of inequalities that describe the attribute ranges of the cells in the cluster. So, I need to form the clusters in such that all high density points will come into the cluster, not a single point is left. If any cell is having fewer than some eta number of points in this cell, those cells will be eliminated from the group. Next is Denclev. This is a kernel based scheme for density based clustering. So, Denclev is density and DEN is density, CLU is clustering. Density clustering is a kernel based scheme for density based clustering approach that models the overall density of a set of points as a sum of influence function associated with each point. So, here what is he is defining that the overall density of a set of points as the sum of influence function associated with each point. The resulting overall density function will have local peaks, that is local density maxima, and these local peaks can be used to define clusters in a natural way. So, now once you define a density, once you apply a Denclev density based clustering, now what we are doing, we are taking the overall density into consideration, and this overall density will be a set of points as the sum of influence function associated with each point. So, now once you combine all the density function, the resulting overall density function will have local peaks, that is local density maxima. Then all these local peaks can be used to define clusters in a natural way. So, all the points in the close proximity of this local density maxima will be formed into the cluster. Specifically, for each data point, a hill climbing procedure finds the nearest peak associated with that point. So, now what we do here, hill climbing procedure we will use. So, what is this? A hill climbing procedure finds the nearest peak, means when you have a local maxima defined, to this local maxima which are the nearest point associated, all those points, take all those data points and form a cluster. So, hill climbing procedure finds the nearest peak associated with that point and the set of all that data points associated with a particular peak called as local density attractor becomes a cluster. Okay, so, this is how a clusters are formed in a on a Tentley. What is that? So, first one is, so for each data point what we will do, we will have a local maxima defined, hill climbing procedure finds the nearest peak associated with that point and the set of all data points associated with the particular peak called local density attractor becomes a cluster. So, what this Dunkley algorithm says? So, now he derive a density function for the space occupied by the data points. So, now first I need to define a function, I need to derive a function. What is? Derive a density function for a space occupied by the data points. Identify the points that are local maxima. Okay, these are the density attractors. Okay, then associate each point with the density attractor by moving in the direction of maximum increase in density. So, now take the points nearest to the local maxima and which are nearer. Okay, so, start moving in the direction of the increasing density, so that all the points nearer to that local maxima are formed into the cluster. Then define cluster consisting of the points associated with a particular density attractor. Take a local maxima, that is nothing but a density attractor. Then what we do? Define a cluster associated with a particular density attractor, make a one cluster, discard the cluster whose density attractor has a density less than a user specified threshold eta. So, now if a cluster is having a value less than some user defined threshold density value, then those clusters will be eliminated. Then combine clusters that are connected by a path of points that all have a density of eta or higher. Now the clusters, now you have all the clusters formed and all these clusters will have a density more than some threshold value eta, then combine all those clusters that are connected by the point, by the path of points that all have a density of eta or higher. Then coming to the next graph based clustering. So, graph based clustering uses the proximity graph, that is proximity is in the nearby region. So, here we start with the proximity matrix. So, take a proximity matrix. What is the proximity matrix? Already we have seen in the previous video lecture, a set of the matrix consisting of the data related to each point, which are the points that are in the proximity of that particular point. Consider each point as a node in the graph. Then each edge between two nodes has a weight, which is a proximity between the 2 points. Okay, so, take each edge between the 2 nodes. So, that is having a weight which is proximity between the 2 points. Initially, the proximity graph is fully connected. So, initially connect every node to every other node. So, initially all the proximity graph is fully connected. Then apply any one of this method. Either you apply DB-scan algorithm, we have seen minimum single link or maximum complete link can be used as stating with this graph. Either you use minimum single link method or you use maximum complete link method, starting to convert this initially proximity graph which is fully connected, use minimum single link or maximum complete link method to form the clusters. So, in the simplest case, clusters are connected components in the graph. Now, here we come across a important parameter, important factor called as sparsification. Okay. So, now what is sparsification? So, sparsification is nothing but the amount of data that need to be processed is drastically reduced. Sparsification can eliminate more than 99% of entries in a proximity matrix. So, here, in a graph based clustering, so what we are doing, initially all this proximity graph is fully connected. So, now all these points cannot become a part of the cluster, because some of them may be in the region, but some of them may not be in the region, and some of may be the outliers of the noise points. So, in order to convert this fully connected graph into a format which can give you a proper number of clusters. So, here we are using a concept called as sparsification. That is, what is sparsification? The amount of data that need to be processed is drastically reduced. So, in this method sparsification, what can do? It can eliminate about 99% of entries in the proximity matrix, or 99% of the outliers of the noise is removed from this sparsification. Next is the amount of time required to cluster the data is drastically reduced. So, now the another advantage. So, one advantage of using sparsification is it can eliminate 99% of the entries in the proximity matrix. Then the amount of time required to cluster the data is also reduced. The size of the problem that can be handled is increased. Why it is increased? Because you are going to divide a fully connected proximity graph into a smaller number of areas. So, here clustering may work better. So, sparsification techniques keep the connections to the most similar nearest neighbor of the point, while breaking the connection to the less similar points. So, here the proximity graph initially which is being fully connected. So, what sparsification technique, what it will do? It will keep only those connections which are most similar or neighbor or in the nearest neighbor of a point, while it will break all the connection to the less similar points. The nearest neighbor of a point tend to belong to the same class as the points itself. So, now the nearest neighbor, the point which is nearest according to sparsification, if a point is in the neighbor of a particular point in a class, then the nearest neighbor of a point tend to belong to the same class as the point itself. So, now this reduces the impact of noise and outliers and sharpens the distinction between the clusters. So, when you divide, so when you remove all the clusters, when you break all the points which are not in the nearest region, or which are while you break the connections to the less similar points, then this will reduce the impact of the noise. Means the points which are not, or the outliers which are not a part of the data. So, all that is being eliminated. This reduces the impact of the noise and also sharpens the distinction between the clusters. So, you can easily distinguish between the cluster. Sparsification facilitates the use of the graph partitioning algorithm or the algorithm based on the graph partitioning algorithm. So, one example for this graph partitioning algorithm is chameleon and hypergraph based clustering. So, here what we have a huge amount of data available. So, on this data a different type of a data available which belongs to the different class. Then what we are going to do? We are going to perform feature selection. So, now we are going to define based on the attribute values of the data present over here, we will select some features and we will perform the similarity matrix, or you can say we will develop a similarity matrix to each and every point in the data. Then we apply sparsification, and sparsification what we do? Less connected graph or the points which are not in the nearest neighbor of a particular point, then those points are eliminated. So, after sparsification, let us take there are these 3 clusters are being formed, but all these 3 clusters are still connected, but here is a huge amount of distance in between these 3 clusters. So, now I need to separate these clusters, means the clusters which are separated by a large distance. For example, if you consider a Euclidean distance, a huge distance is present in between the 2 clusters, then what we can do? Then we can apply the clustering. So, the clustering we are applying, then that will result into the 3 different clusters. So, this will form into one cluster, this is second cluster and this is the third cluster. So, after performing clustering, we will get cluster 1, cluster 2 and the cluster 3, we will get 3 different clusters. So, now limitations of the current merging schemes. Merging scheme is nothing but merging the 2 clusters based on their closeness, or that is. So, what are the limitations of merging these adjacent clusters? So, what is the problem when you merge the adjacent clusters with the similarities? So, existing merging schemes in hierarchical clustering algorithm are static in nature. So, existing the methods which are available now are the hierarchical clustering algorithms, all these are static methods. And so, here for example, we are using a minimum or cure algorithm, merge two clusters based on their closeness or minimum distance. Okay, so, now here what we are doing? So, one thing is minimum that we have used in DB-scan algorithm, we use min or cure. So, it is, so here we are going to merge two clusters based on their closeness. So, merge only those two clusters whose Euclidean distance is minimum, or we have minimum closeness between them, sorry, minimum distance between them and their closeness is more. Then group or average, merge two clusters based on their average connectivity. So, take two clusters, connect each and every point to the every other cluster and calculate their average connectivity. So, if average connectivity is more, so means if all these points in the two clusters are nearer to one another, then only use the method. So, for example, chameleon, so clustering using dynamic modeling. So, adapt to the characteristic of the data set to find the natural clusters. So, now adopt, so here we need to find out the cluster based on the data. So, I need to adapt myself to the characteristics of the data set to find the natural classes. Okay, use a dynamic model to measure the similarity between the clusters. So, one thing what we need to do here is, I need to find the natural cluster. So, that is possible by adapting to the or using the characteristics of the data, then use a dynamic model to measure the similarity between the clusters. So, main property is the relative closeness and the relative interconnectivity of the cluster. Okay, so, what is the main property that we are going to use? The main property is the relative closeness. So, when you are merging two clusters, so what is the main property that I need to consider over here is the relative closeness and relative interconnectivity of the cluster. Two clusters are combined if the resulting cluster shares certain properties with the constituent clusters. So, here whenever you want to combine, whenever you want to merge two clusters, so two clusters will be merged only if the resulting clusters share certain properties with the constituent clusters. So, the merging scheme preserves self similarity. So, here, so whenever you merge two adjacent cells, make sure that the resulting cluster has or shares certain properties of the constituent clusters, and this preserves the property of self similarity, means every cluster will have, or all the data points in a cluster will have a proper similarity. Okay. So, now what are the different steps involved? So, what we need to do in pre-processing, then what we do in post-processing. So, steps pre-processing step, represent the data by a graph. The first thing is what we need to do is represent the complete data by a graph. So, then given a set of points, construct the k nearest neighbor KNN graph to capture the relationship between the point and its k nearest neighbor. So, we have already studied the k nearest neighbor algorithm. Okay, so, that is either based on the Euclidean distance between the 2 points. So, when you are given with a set of 2 points, constructs a KNN graph to capture the relationship between the point and its nearest neighbor. So, concept of neighbor is captured dynamically even if the region is sparse. So, here the concept of neighbor is what is applied, means the points, the data objects which are in the nearest neighborhood will be combined together. So, here there are two phases in which we are running. Phase 1, use a multi-level graph partitioning algorithm and the graph to find a large number of clusters of well connected vertices. So, here what we are doing, the first thing, we are using a multi-level graph partitioning algorithm. So, on the graph we are going to find out the large number of clusters of well connected vertices. So, each cluster contain mostly points from one true cluster, that is in a subcluster of a real cluster. So, every cluster should contain the point which are the true points of the cluster, means no noise and no outliers should enter into a cluster. Then phase 2, use hierarchical agglomeratic clustering to merge the cluster. So, here we are using the neighborhood concept, graph partitioning algorithm. Here in phase 1, either we can use graph based partitioning algorithm, or in phase 2 we can use hierarchical agglomeratic clustering algorithm. So, here in hierarchical agglomerative clustering algorithm, what we are doing, two clusters are combined if the resulting cluster shares certain properties with the constituent cluster. Two key properties used to model cluster similarity. One is relative interconnectivity. So, in hierarchical agglomerative algorithm, two key properties are used to model the cluster similarity. One is relative interconnectivity. What is absolute interconnectivity of the two cluster normalized by the interval connectivity of the cluster. So, here what is relative interconnectivity? So, based on this parameter we are going to merge two cells in a hierarchical agglomerative algorithm. So, absolute interconnectivity of two clusters is what is relative connectivity? Absolute interconnectivity of two clusters normalized by the internal connectivity of the cluster. Then coming to the another point called as relative closeness, absolute closeness of two clusters normalized by the internal closeness of the cluster. So, these two parameters are concerned. So, these two are the key properties that are used to model cluster similarity, that is relative interconnectivity, that is nothing but absolute interconnectivity of two clusters normalized by the internal connectivity of the cluster, and second one is relative closeness, absolute closeness of the two clusters normalized by the internal closeness of the cluster. Next one is SSN clustering algorithm. So, here again in SSN clustering algorithm, so this corresponds to similarity graph with data points for the nodes and edges whose weights are the similarities between the data points. So, here again in SSN algorithm, so here again we are going to develop a similarity graph with data points for the nodes and edges whose weights are the similarities between the data points. So, in SSN algorithm what we are going to do is, the first step is the compute similarity matrix. So, once you compute similarity matrix, second one sparsify the similarity matrix. So, sparsify means eliminate all those points which are not in the neighborhood or which are the noise and outliers. Specify the similarity matrix. So, in the similarity matrix eliminate all those points which are not a part of the matrix. Similarity matrix by keeping only the k most similar neighbors. So, here I need to keep only those points which are most similar neighbors or which are most similar to one another. Okay, this corresponds to only keeping the k strongest link of the similarity graph. So, if you talk with respect to the similarity, if you talk with respect to the graph, I need to keep only the k strongest links of the similarity graph. Then the third step is construct the shared nearest neighbor graph from this sparsify similarity matrix. So, once you eliminate the outliers and noise points on the similarity matrix, next what you need to do is you need to construct a nearest neighbor graph from the sparsify similarity matrix. At this point we could apply a similarity threshold and find the connected components to obtain the clusters. So, that is Jarvis-Patrick algorithm. Then find SSN density of each point. Okay, so, then find the SSN density of each point using a user defined parameter, that is EPS epsilon, find the number of points that have an SSN similarity of EPS or greater than each point. This is the SSN density of the point. Then find the core points using a user defined parameter or user specified parameter. So, here I need to find the core points. So, how we are going to find the core points? That is by using a user defined specified parameter. For example, you have studied the definition of the core points and border points and the noise points. So, one of the parameter that we need to consider, if I want to have a particular point as a core point, then it should have some minimum number of points. So, that is specified coordinate mean points, find the core point, that is all the points that have an SSN density greater than minimum points. Form clusters from the core points, then you need to take all these core points. So, take these core points into consideration and then form the clusters. If two core points are within the radius of epsilon of each other, they are in the place of same cluster. Then discard all the noise points, remove all those noise points which are not a part of the graph or which are not a part of the similarity matrix. So, remove all those noise points, all non core points that have not within the radius epsilon of a core points are discarded. You take a core point, okay, with a radius of epsilon. If all the points if any point which is outside this radius of epsilon, all those points will be eliminated. So, all non-core points, which are not within the radius of the core point, all those are discarded. Assign all non-noise, non-core points to the cluster. Then you are, when you eliminated all the noise points, you are left with only non-noise points and non-core points to the cluster. This can be done by assigning such point to the nearest core point. So, now non-noise points and non-core points, find out to which is the nearest core point. So, whichever is the nearest core point, assign all these non-noise points and non-core points to the nearest core point. So, what this algorithm says? Computing shared nearest neighbor similarity. So, first thing is find k nearest neighbors. If 2 points x and y are not among the k nearest neighbor of each other, then similarity is 0, else similarity is equal to number of shared neighbors. So, here that is what the computation of essential similarity between the 2 points. So, this is the 2 points, and we are going to compute the essential similarity between these two. So, these 3 points 1, 2, 3 and 4, these are the non-core points and these are discarded. So, only these 3 points which are in the radius of epsilon will be considered, whereas these 4 points will be eliminated. Next, coming of the limitations of SNN algorithm. So, complexity of SNN algorithm. So, this is SNN clustering algorithm. Then coming to the limitations of SNN clustering algorithm. So, complexity of SNN clustering is high. So, complexity of SSN clustering algorithm high. Why it is high? Because complexity O is equal to n into time to find the number of neighbors within the EPS. As we are considering n, the total number of points, then time to find the number of neighbors. So, how much amount of time? The time required to find all the points which are within the radius of epsilon, if it is less, complexity will be less, but the time will be more, then complexity will be more, and that will be multiplied by n. So, the worst case is O of n into 2. Then coming to the another next clustering algorithm, that is scalable clustering algorithm. So, BITCH is a scalable clustering algorithm. So, BITCH, balance, iterative reducing and clustering using hierarchies, is a highly efficient clustering technique for a data in Euclidean vector space. So, whenever your data is present in the form of in a Euclidean vector space, then this balance iterative reducing and clustering using hierarchy is efficient clustering technique. So, that is data for which average makes the sense. So, BITCH can efficiently cluster such data points with one pass. In one pass only, it can cluster all the data points and can improve the clustering with additional passes. So, BITCH can also deal effectively with the outliers. So, BITCH algorithm, what it says, load the data into the memory by creating a CF tree that summarizes the data, then build a CF tree, smaller CF tree if it is necessary for phase 3, that is T is increased and then the leaf node entries are reinserted. Since T has increased, some clusters will be merged. Then perform global clustering. Different forms of the global clustering can be used. However, an agglomerative clustering hierarchical technique was selected because the clustering feature stores summary information that is important to certain kinds of the clustering. So, the global clustering algorithm can be applied, and if it were being applied to all the points in a cluster represented by the CF, then redistribute the data points using the centroid of the cluster discovered in step 3 and thus discover a new set of clusters. Okay. So, this overcomes a certain problem that can occur in the first phase of the bridge. Because of the page size constraints and the T parameter, points that should be in one cluster are sometimes split. Means the points which are to be present in one cluster are there in the other cluster, and the points that should be in different cluster are sometimes combined. Sometimes we eliminate, we remove all these points, some points which are supposed to be into the cluster, and we will add those points which are not supposed to be in the cluster. So, if the data set contains duplicate points, then these points can sometimes be clustered differently. So, if data set contain duplicate points, these points can sometimes be clustered differently. So, depending on depending on the order in which they are encountered. Okay, so, by repeating this phase multiple times, the process converges a locally optimum solution. Coming to the last method, so last algorithm, that is CURE clustering in representative, is a clustering algorithm that uses a variety of different techniques to create an approach that can handle large data sets, outliers, and the clusters with non-spherical shapes and non-uniform shapes. So, here the reason why we are using a clustering using representative, this is a clustering algorithm that takes into consideration different techniques. So, want to create an approach. So, now here an approach is being created that can handle a large data sets. So, the CURE can handle large data sets, it can handle the effect of outliers on noise points, and clusters with non-spherical shapes also it can handle, and the clusters which are non-uniform in size, the CURE can still handle. So, CURE represents a cluster by using multiple representative points from the cluster. These points will in turn capture the geometry and shape of the cluster. Okay, so, now how we find out the first point? The first representative point is chosen to be the point farthest from the center of the cluster. So, the first representative point, how it is being chosen? The first representative point is chosen to be the point farthest from the center of the cluster, while the remaining points are chosen so that they are the farthest from all the previously chosen points. This way the representative points are naturally relatively well distributed. So, now here how this CURE algorithm works is draw a random sample from the data set. The CURE paper is notable for explicitly deriving a formula for what the size of this sample should be in order to guarantee with high probability that all clusters are represented by a minimum number of points. Then, so once you form the random set of data, partition the sample into p equal size partitions, then cluster the points in each partition into m by p into g clusters using Skear's hierarchical clustering algorithm to obtain a total of m by q clusters. Use Skear's hierarchical clustering algorithm to cluster m by q clusters found in the previous step until you form Clay clusters. So, when you have a m by q number of the clusters, a huge number of clusters which are formed after using the hierarchical clustering algorithm, then you go on applying the algorithm until only K clusters remain. Eliminate outliers means eliminate the noise points which are or the outliers which are having different properties and attributes with respect to the center points or which are there in the cluster. This is the second phase of the outlier elimination. So, outliers are eliminated 2 times. So, assign all the remaining data points to the nearest cluster to obtain a complete clustering. So, this is the last algorithm, the CURE. So, this is the end of the module 5. So, thank you one and all.